It began not with thunder, but with a donkey. Jerusalem was full, swollen with pilgrims and politics. Passover drew near, and so did tension. The air itself seemed to crackle with anticipation. Rome watched with suspicion. The priests watched with contempt. The poor watched with hope. And Jesus, he rode in low. Not on a stallion, not with swords, but on a borrowed colt. The people threw down cloaks. Palm branches waved like banners of revolt and redemption. They shouted, "Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." But he didn't smile like a conquering king. He wept because he knew their joy was shallow. They celebrated a Messiah of their own making, a rescuer who would overthrow Caesar, not sin. They saw a deliverer of politics, not a savior of souls. They were shouting praise on Sunday, but they would scream for crucifixion by Friday. Still he rode in, still he came. Among the crowd, a zealot clenched his fists in excitement. At last, the revolution would begin. A widow whispered prayers of healing as she laid her only garment in his path. A child climbed onto a wall, eyes wide with wonder, sensing this moment was different from every other. And Jesus wept, not only for what was coming, but for how few truly saw him. The week unraveled like a prophecy in slow motion. He cleared the temple, not just of money changers, but of the religious delusion that God could be bought. He taught in parables that cut like knives. He answered questions with such power that even his enemies dared not speak again. And he knew. Every moment was ticking closer. Closer to betrayal. Closer to agony. Closer to the cross. On Thursday evening, he gathered with his disciples one final time. The room was prepared. The bread was on the table. The wine shimmered in clay cups. But something hung in the air. A weight. Jesus rose from the table, took off his robe, wrapped a towel around his waist, and one by one he washed their feet, the King of glory on his knees. Peter, ashamed, resisted. "You shall never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no part with me." The room was silent, save for water splashing on calloused feet and hearts breaking without sound. He broke the bread. "This is my body, given for you." He poured the wine. "This is my blood shed for you." He spoke of a covenant, a new one not written on stone or enforced by priests, but etched in hearts and sealed in sacrifice. And then, he said one of them would betray him. Judas slipped into the night. The others followed Jesus to Gethsemane, where the olive trees bent like old men under the weight of what was coming. He prayed, not a polite, sacred prayer, but a soul-bleeding, body-trembling cry to the Father, "If it be possible, let this cup pass from me." But even in his agony, love prevailed. "Yet not my will, but yours be done." He prayed until sweat became blood. The disciples slept. Perhaps Peter dreamed of redemption, even as he failed to keep watch. Perhaps John stirred but didn't rise, comforted too long by the quiet. Perhaps James curled deeper into sleep, not knowing that the world was shifting with every breath Jesus fought to take. And then, the kiss. Torches, swords, a crowd sent by cowards in robes. Jesus didn't run, he didn't hide. He stepped forward and said, "I am he." And the soldiers fell back, not from force, but from the weight of truth. They bound the only truly free man who ever lived. The trial was a farce, false witnesses, twisted words, spit and fists. And when the high priest demanded, "Are you the Son of God?" Jesus didn't flinch. "You have said so, and you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power." They tore their robes, they screamed blasphemy, and they condemned the one they had waited for. Pilate found no fault in him, but the crowd found its voice. "Crucify him." The same lips that cried Hosanna now called for death. And so began the long walk through narrow streets, a cross dragging behind torn flesh. Simon of Cyrene helped carry it, but Jesus bore its weight before it ever touched his shoulders. The hill was called Golgotha, the place of the skull. There they drove nails through wrists made to heal. They raised him high, not to honor him, but to humiliate. And from that place, between heaven and earth, Jesus spoke 7 final sentences, each a window into the depth of divine love. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Today you will be with me in paradise. Woman, behold your son. Son, behold your mother. My God, why have you forsaken me? I thirst. It is finished. Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. The sky turned black. The earth trembled. The curtain in the temple tore from top to bottom. Creation itself convulsed as the Creator died. A Roman centurion, no prophet, no priest, looked up and whispered the truth. Surely this was the Son of God. They took his body down, wrapped it in linen, laid him in a borrowed tomb. The stone was rolled into place, the light went out, and all of hell held its breath. For a whole day heaven was silent. Saturday came like a deep exhale after a scream. The streets of Jerusalem bustled again, but the tension was different now. Less electric, more exhausted. The priests went back to their rituals. Rome returned to their patrols. And those who had followed him, they scattered. Grief has its own gravity. It pulls the soul inward, down. The disciples hid, haunted by guilt, confusion, and fear. Their teacher was dead. Their dreams had died with him. What were they supposed to do now? Peter wept behind locked doors. He had denied the one he swore to follow unto death. 3 times, no less. His last words to Jesus had been a lie. That kind of shame doesn't go away in a night. Mary, the mother of Jesus, sat in a quiet room with swollen eyes and empty hands. She had cradled the Son of God in her arms as a baby. Now she mourned his broken body. John tried to console her, but his heart too was splintered. The weight of watching him die had changed something deep inside him. Others tried to remember his words, but they clashed with the final image of him, limp and bloodied, hanging between criminals. Could this have been the plan? Had they misunderstood everything? No one slept well that night, not even the soldiers. Something about the man they crucified wouldn't leave them. 2 of the disciples walked the road to Emmaus, kicking dust and questions with every step. We had hoped, one of them said, past tense, hope already fading like a dream. And then, morning. The women rose early, not out of joy, but out of duty. They carried spices to anoint the body, acts of devotion, even in death. But when they reached the tomb, everything changed. The stone was rolled away. Not slightly, not shifted. Flung back like an insult to death itself. The body was gone. And in its place, an angel, blazing with light, blazing with truth. Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here. He is risen. And with those words, the silence shattered. Grief turned to confusion. Confusion turned to hope. Hope erupted into praise. They ran. They told the others. Peter sprinted to the tomb and found it just as they said, empty, but not abandoned. The grave clothes were there, folded, as if to say, I'm not finished, I'm just getting started. And then he appeared, first to Mary Magdalene weeping in the garden. She thought he was the gardener, until he spoke her name. Mary, and everything inside her came alive. He walked through walls, ate fish, showed scars, breathed peace. He met Thomas in his doubt and offered his wounds as proof. He restored Peter with a question. Do you love me? 3 times, one for each denial. He lit fires on beaches, broke bread again, laughed again, taught again. And then one day he led them to a mountain, just like he had before. But this time, it wasn't to reveal his glory. It was to release theirs. All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, go. He gave them a mission. He gave them a spirit. He gave them a kingdom that could not be shaken. And then he ascended, not away from them, but ahead of them. He didn't leave them behind. He lifted their eyes. The cross was never the end. It was the door. The tomb was never the prison. It was the passage. The silence of Saturday was never the final word. It was the breath before resurrection. And now, the same power that raised Jesus from the dead lives in us. He walked out of the grave so we could walk into life. And he's still calling names in gardens, still breathing peace into locked rooms, still restoring failures by fires. This is not just history, it's invitation. The cross was not the end. It was the beginning of everything.